Stay tuned for another episode of the Coming Soon podcast with sPidA.
Hello, everybody. sPidA here, Coming Soon podcast, San Antonio, Texas, of course, with my guest, Craig Meinhart. Sir, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. Productive day. It is Sunday. I mean, I had a lot of stuff going on this week, but I'm sure, you yourself, man, I brought you on here for a reason. Before we get into this, I'm going to show the poster right quick, just so people can see what we're going to be talking about.
Right on.
Beware the Devil's Wrath, of course, that's coming up. But wanted to get some info on yourself, man. I mean, when it comes to making movies, man, what was your humble beginning?
So I kind of planned to get into it for a very long time. And then it was actually a friend of mine that I was interviewing for a podcast. So I was a host on a podcast for a couple of years before the pandemic. And I had a guy that I knew from the horror movie circuit. So I had volunteered at Texas Frightmare Weekend for over a decade and met a lot of people there. And one of the other guys that I worked with named Bradley Harding, he was a volunteer at Frightmare for a long time as well. He still's there and I'm no longer there. But I interviewed him because he was at the time developing his own feature, his debut feature horror film called 13 Tracks to Frighten Agatha Black. And it's now out on like Prime and DVD and stuff like that. So please check it out. But he was telling me about the process and stuff like that. And he had kind of offhand mentioned about how he had been a judge on like some different film festivals. Right. And what he said is that like 10 to 15 minutes was the sweet spot for a short film. Right. He's like, because if you do like an hour long and nobody knows your name or anything like that, it's kind of a big ask, Right. And sometimes some people go like real short, like 1 or 2 minutes. It's like, but that's maybe not quite enough to like really get into what you're doing. Right. So short. He's like, but that 10 to 15 minutes, he's like, that's where you want to be. And a kind of light went off in my head because, I had written screenplays before. I've published several short stories, that type of thing. So I've been a writer and I'm also in a couple of bands and I've been writing lyrics forever. So, I've always been a writer from that end. And I had different stories that I was developing for features, but I had never even really kind of thought about a short. Right. So I did a short film called Into Dust back, and it was right before the pandemic hit. We actually shot it the weekend before everything closed down. And it went well. It turned out very well, and I got a very positive response. But it was basically everything that could go wrong on it did go wrong. So it was a very good learning experience. Really taught me a lot. And I'd also done like a lot of music videos and stuff like that for my band. So I knew my way around that kind of stuff. And then I had planned to, so this was 2020, right? So in 2020, finished editing and putting the sound together for this short and got it out, won a few film festivals, did some public screenings that went really well. And thought, great. I was like, now I'm going to, try to do a feature, a different story, right? But I had some personal stuff come up in the way. I had my mom die and I had to deal with a lot of like that end of things. Right. Like taking care of like her house and her possessions and stuff like that. Because my dad was already passed at that point. So that basically took up the next year. And so everything kind of got delayed a year. And then last year, I, decided, I was like, I really got to try to make this happen. So I finished up my feature screenplay and I cast about trying to figure out the how and why of making a feature. You know, it's like I knew kind of the creative element of it, right? I knew like how to place actors, you know, stuff like that. But what I'm talking about is how do you find investors? Like
Right.
how do you get distribution? Where do you try to find professional people? You know, not just, you know, people that you hit up on a Facebook post or something like that to be actors. You know, like how do you find professional crew? You know, how do you like start an LLC, which I had never done before, and all this kind of stuff. So I was hoping to get the feature made last year, but it didn't work out that way. You know, I wasn't able to secure funding and stuff like that. So I decided to make a short out of the feature script. So we just took like a particular scene, like a 10-minute long scene from the script, and
Right.
got that. We got actors, we got crew, we got everything. And then that is what we got the poster for and what we're having our screening for. And I've got it out in a few film festivals, and we're going to use that to springboard into getting the feature made.
Man, easier said than done, huh?
Yeah.
That was a whole lot of everything, man. But yeah, I mean, of course, I mean, 2020, like you were saying, I mean, you know, what happened with Mama, and my condolences, of course, man.
Thanks.
Was that having to do with COVID, or was this something else?
No. It wasn't that it wasn't that you know,
Okay.
it was something else that
Yeah, man.
is unexpected, you know,
Right.
and you know, it just put everything on the back burner because there was a lot to take care of as far as, you know, like house and possessions and funeral and all that kind of stuff.
No, for sure. And of course, I mean, you said you had her home and her belongings, man, but I'm sure sentimental value, man. I mean, that's kind
Yeah.
of hard to kind of like, okay, let's just sell it. But you're like, you know what? You want to hold on to those memories as long as you can, for sure.
Yeah. You know, it just, that's the kind of thing. It takes a while to go through all that stuff because you have to make those tough decisions on what am I going to keep? What can I keep? You know, what
Right.
do I sell? What do I donate? You know, all that kind of stuff. So,
No, for sure, man. And of
and then,
course, man, I
and then
mean,
on top of all that, of course, like, you know, I'm working and I'm still doing music with my bands and all this kind of stuff. So, you know, it was just, you know, I always knew I was going to come back to it, but then I just decided, put my foot down. I was like, last year, I was like, okay, it's now or never. We're either going to make this happen or not.
no, for sure, bro. And of course, I mean, I had seen your page, man, and I mean, being in the music industry because you were at a concert or a show a while back.
Both. I mean, I was at like just at a show on Friday night.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah. And then, you know, I also play you know, around and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm pretty much always busy in a good way with music. So going to shows, playing shows, you know, trying to support friends, that type of thing.
And you see, and doing something like that because, of course, you're in the mix. I mean, you're already working with setting up a venues. You know,
Yeah.
making sure everything's lined up. Did that kind of fall into place when you started making films because you were
Oh
used
yeah.
to direction?
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely. So it definitely helped in many ways. Just, you know, being used to dealing with, you know, creative people, you know, like musicians and actors and stuff like that. Very much birds of a feather. And even that, so the DP on our short and then on our soon to be feature, he's a buddy of mine that I met through the music scene.
Nice.
And he's actually the touring photographer for Pantera, like the
Oh,
official
nice.
guy. Like, so when they go on tour, he goes on tour. So
Good.
we had to time up shooting when he was back.
I get that because I know Pantera was on it for a minute, man.
Yeah.
They're on the road for quite a bit, so that, yeah, I could imagine. You see, that's one of the things when it comes to you know, those like yourself making movies, man. A lot of them, you know, depending if they're up north, they're like, man, you know what, we have to shoot. We have a time frame because after June or after this month, it's cold and it's snowing, so there's no
Yeah.
way we can keep filming it. You know, so there's a deadline. I can only imagine. I mean, with you, was that ever an issue? I mean, just other than the tour dates and stuff like that.
That was the big one is you know, trying to do it when he could do it and then also sync it up when the majority of like the actors and stuff like that could do it. So I had to plan it out like, you know, months in advance, you know, before we actually got there. So
No, for sure, man. And when it came to getting a crew, I mean, for actors, professional, like you said, people that have been in the business for a minute, did you stick local? Were you just getting like people in Texas, or were people? Did anybody have to drive out here or drive
Yeah,
to?
it was all within Texas, so I'm in Dallas, so it was
Right.
people around DFW, but then we also got Austin and San Antonio folks that were a part of it as well. So it
Sweet.
was all like, not by design, it just kind of worked out that way. It's like, I mean, we'd take anybody that was qualified and wanted to do it,
Right.
but it worked out such that it was all people kind of scattered around Texas,
No, sweet, man. And of
which
course, I
is
mean,
cool in retrospect.
yeah.
Like one of those things. Like I'm a big believer in like regional talent and stuff like that. So kind of like going back to like like the old days, like George Romero using all the people from Pittsburgh, Sam Raimi using all the people from Michigan, Toby Hooper using people from Texas, that type of vibe. So it worked out well.
No, of course, and of course. With that being said, I mean, Texas is such a huge state, man. It's like having, it's like having a couple of small states in here. I mean, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of talent.
Oh yeah.
And let
Texas
me
is its own,
ask you,
Texas is its own country for sure,
yeah.
brother.
Oh yeah. I've always said it, man. I said, man, people ask me what country are you from? I'm like Texas, man.
Yeah, that's it.
But let me ask you too, man, because I always tell people, like for myself, I grew up watching black and white reruns, the early '80s, the mid '80s, of course, watching a lot of films that a lot of them incorporated punk rock music.
Mhm.
I told people I was a fan of punk rock before I even knew what it was because I would listen to the soundtracks and I just kind of had that in the back of my head. But do you think it kind of works out for musicians like yourself that are I don't want to say indie, but I mean as far as regional to be able to like bring that into the world of indie film?
I definitely think it can help. It's uh, I think it mainly relies on just people that are both creative and stubborn, and so it doesn't really matter like what your background is. Is that but like I've definitely met a number of people that have that kind of like backbone in
Yeah.
music because like definitely like the scenes I'm in and stuff like that, which is like underground metal, punk rock, that type of thing, and then like people I hang out with that are like into like industrial and goth and all that kind of stuff
Oh,
is there's a lot of people there, but it's actually like a really small scene, like pretty much everybody knows everybody.
yeah.
And it's like people do it because they love it. Like no one's getting rich off this shit. And
Yeah.
so it is you do occasionally come across some egos, but not too often. Like mostly it's people that are there because they want to be there and they want to be a part of it or they want to do something. And you just got to have that like mentality of going in of just like, hey man, we're just gonna make this happen come hell or high water. And if that's you, then I think that you'll have a good chance to do something notable. But it's like if people come into it and cheers to anybody that can pull it off. But if you're coming into doing something, to make money or get
Oh,
famous
yeah.
or whatever, is I don't see you lasting too long because it's just unless you're connected or rich, and unfortunately I'm neither. Is it's a lot of work and you got to be down for it.
Yeah.
And if you're down for it, it's great fun, but you got to be down for it.
No, man, that's actually well said, bro. I've always told people that. I mean, because I'm very much involved in the combat sports community as well.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, like, man, I mean, if you're fighting for money, I said, man, you got a long, you
Yeah.
got something going because unless you're gifted or unless somebody sees something and they bump you up quick,
Yeah.
I said, there's guys been fighting in the regional circuit for over 10 years, and for
Yeah.
me, I think 10 years is always like 8 or 10 years is the max for fighters because it's like if you don't make it by then, I mean, by that time you're in your late 30s or, like the UFC has a cutoff date and a lot of promotions, they want newer talent, younger talent. But
Yeah.
I mean, of course, no disrespect. There's a lot of older dudes out there that freaking can bring it, women as well. But it's like one of those things. I mean, if you're in it for the money, yeah, I would say, man, I've had people actually ask me like back then, like, hey, you know what, I'm thinking about starting a fight gear company or, what do you think? And I'm like, man, don't do it, bro. Like, if you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna sell 1,000 shirts, I said, you're gonna sell 5 maybe and be left with like 9,995. It's just it
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. But yeah, I mean, I agree, man. I mean, I've been involved in music for years. I used to distribute vinyl back in the day here in San
Okay.
Antonio, and it's just I used to sell music out of my trunk, man. I used to go to shows and pop my trunk and, okay, what do you need? Boom,
Yeah.
you're fixed. But I would imagine, I mean, the film industry, the indie films, I mean, uh, guys like yourself that are in it and actually doing it. I mean, it's got to be it's got to be like, instead of money. I mean, of course, we all want it, but when somebody just says like, "Man, that was a good film," like it's like priceless, right? I mean, you're kind of like, okay, well, that's what I want to hear,
Yeah, totally. It's for me, it's the same as, making music, being in a band, writing a story, like really anything creative is like the way I approach it. And it's just me, but to me, art is a discipline. It's not about like, uh, kudos, or it's not about making money or whatever. I mean, look, we'd all love to do it. Like we'd all love to be huge. We'd all love to play in front of massive audiences or have like a #1 hit movie or whatever your deal may be. Everyone would love to strike it huge. Anybody that says different is lying. It's like, but that's not the motivation, because if that's your motivator, that's not going to help you when no one is backing you up, when nobody cares, when it's early in the morning, or when you're broke, or like any of the million things that you got to overcome to get there, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's just a discipline. It's just like a head down. We're going to do this thing. We're going to do it as good as we can fucking do it. And then hopefully people dig it. And that's really, and if people do dig it, then that's a tremendous payoff. But, it's really more of just, wanting to do something interesting and cool.
No, yeah. I mean, I agree, man. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, and I was talking to my buddy earlier, and I was just like, man, like, coming across money. I mean, of course, we all wish we could, but it's like
Yeah.
on the end of that. I mean, when I was doing the whole media, circuit for combat sports, man. Like I used to always tell people, like I was a postal employee, and I would always tell them that they're my biggest sponsor, man, because I was funding myself, like I didn't have sponsors paying my way, I mean, promoters every once in a while they you can have a room for the night, go to Dallas, go to Houston, stay the night out there, but other than that, it's just it's like you got to do it because you want to,
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, it's a lot of people do fall into luck, or not luck, but they do get a as far as they pick up something and they can keep doing it and get paid. So yeah, more power to them. It's
Yeah.
like for the rest of us, man, we'll just keep doing it because we want to, man.
Yeah, exactly.
But bro, let me ask you. I mean, I did watch the trailer. The movie itself. I mean, I gotta ask? Is there a significant meaning to this? I mean, of course, beware the devil's wrath. I mean,
Uh-huh.
what's the synopsis on this? Tell us first off.
Sure. So it's what I call an occult themed revenge horror movie. So it kind of combines a couple of elements. One being the occult angle, that's where the devil part of it comes in. But then the wrath is that it's also a revenge story.
Nice, man. And of course, I mean, you said, and I should have asked you this earlier, but you say you're involved in music. I mean, you're a writer? Are you a vocalist?
Yeah.
Okay. And so, of course, like you said, when you're writing this, was this something that you wrote one time and you were like, okay, I'm happy with it, or you had to sit
Oh,
and
no.
kind of like back and forth?
No, like the exact opposite, man, is with everything I write, whether like for lyrics or everything, man, I like write and then rewrite obsessively. So I don't know if I have an accurate count of the number of rewrites I've done, because I'm in the middle of one right now, kind of making some minor adjustments, as we plan to get the feature shot now that I've created the short. But I mean, I want to say 10,
Yeah.
10 times writing it. And that would be like at least 5 or 6 times of a page 1 rewrite of just starting at the beginning and going to the end. And then at least that many times or more of then breaking it down and, making little adjustments and tweaks here or there.
Right. No, man. And of course, when it came to the parts, as far as, for the characters in the film, I mean, did you already have people in mind for that, or did they just kind of fall into place?
No, I didn't, because again, it's like being small and independent is like, it would be pointless, trying to write with like a big star in mind,
Right.
like, because it's just never going to happen, it is like, uh, uh, so I've never done that. I've never written, like, oh, this actor, is who I have in mind, like Tom Hardy or something like that. It's like,
Right.
not there's anything wrong with that. I mean, there's people that do great work like that. I don't do it that way. I just try to envision the part my own, and then try to find someone that matches.
Yeah.
Maybe not necessarily exactly the physical
Right.
aspect, but more of like the kind of like matching the energy of what I think that character would have.
Right. No, and the reason I'm asking is because a lot of times, I mean, you said you have friends like your buddy that's a photographer for Pantera, man. I mean, I was thinking maybe you had somebody that you knew that were like, you know what, let me see if I can write this and bring this guy in, but
Yeah.
no, right?
No, it's a fair question, because each project's different, and sometimes it will just start with like somebody knows an actor and that guy's going to be the lead, and then they're going to, and that's totally fair. But no, I was, I didn't have anybody in mind for anything, like any part, any cast, or, it was even after I had the script all together, and, I hit up my buddy Dave to be the DP on the project. And, just because he's got a great eye. I'd worked with him on some music videos and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this guy, he can bring something cool to what we're doing. So that's, for any part, whether it be crew, it could be like special effects, camera department, or actor, is I, really just try to go with my gut instinct of who I think will be cool to work with, and then also bring something interesting to the project.
No, for sure. Now, when they came to filming, I mean, of course, you said you have people, actors from Austin, from here in San Antonio.
Mhm.
Did you kind of like, okay, you know what, everybody, I need everybody here for that weekend, or did
Yeah.
you already kind of separate everybody to spread them out?
So we shot, so the short that we did, it's 10 minutes long. It's a 10-minute sequence right from the kind of the middle of the script. So it's kind of like the inflection point where kind of everything changes in the story. And so we've shot it over 2 days out in Burleson, which is kind of like a little bit west of Fort Worth.
Right.
And, I had everything planned out like very well. So we had most everybody there for both days, and then a few of the cast only there for 1 day, because maybe that's all that they needed. So, and then, luckily, when everybody knocked it out of the park. I mean, the shooting went very well. Now, of course, we had issues and problems and, stuff that comes up. But even with that, everybody was able to roll with it and adapt, So cast and crew did an awesome bang up job. And, it all worked out, luckily.
No.
Because it's one of those things, is until you do it yourself, you can read every book, you can listen to every podcast and stuff like that. But until you're in there doing it yourself, it's like everything's a guess. It's like, how long does it take to film something? I don't fucking know. Like some things that you might think take a really long time don't. And then some things that you think will take no time take forever.
Yeah.
And you just, there's no way to like look it up or whatever. Like, I'll give you like one example. So we were going to shoot a bonfire scene, right? So we're out in the woods and we've got this bonfire built, and our girl that was in charge of the art department, she had like a gas line that was hooked up to a propane tank. So for like artificial flames, right? Because then that way we wouldn't have to like build as much time, like building like an actual fire. We could keep the flames uniform. We could frame it in such a way that it looked like a bonfire.
Right.
We had it all right. Didn't work. Didn't work at all. She tried it on the way to the set. It worked. Yeah. Got to our location. Didn't work. Took 2 hours of trying to figure out, like, what are we going to do? Well, okay, well, fuck it. Now we got to build a bonfire. But the ground was wet from rain the night before.
Oh, man.
The wood was wet. So it took forever to just try to get a fire lit. You know what I mean? So it's like something that in my mind is like, well, that's not something I got to worry about. No, yeah, totally. Like ruined like half of like a night, not ruined, but you know what I mean? Like,
postponed a little bit.
Like put on hold half of the night just to figure out this one little problem, which we did, but it was just like, God damn. It's like, you got actors waiting and makeup and all this kind of shit going on. So, it's just, but then there'd be other things that I thought were going to take way longer that didn't. So it all ended up balancing out.
No, you see, and then that's one of the things, because I was reading this article. This was a while back, but it was talking about like what to be aware of, like before you start shooting. Like if one of them, for example, made sense, and I've seen it done before on behind the scenes, like some of the places I've been able to shoot, and like one of them was like if you're gonna do a scene that's gonna get dirty and the blood, for example, like do it last because.
Right.
And sure enough, man, that was a film that I was a part of that happened. They shot it first, and then they were like, okay, we still got to get the other scene. Like, did you bring up an extra pair of pants? And they're like, no. And it's like, okay, well, so somebody had to give them their pair of pants just to put on pants that were clean, which you don't think about, but it's just like, yeah, okay, you kind of have to like uniform it and say, okay, we're gonna shoot all the kill scenes, all the blood scenes last, but let's get these. But yeah, I mean, I can only imagine, man. I mean, that fire, you would think, hey, a lighter, some gasoline and boom, but that didn't work, man.
So
you see, when you were talking about the tank and the hose, I thought you were gonna say like the tank got caught on fire or something.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
oh damn! Like
explosion. No, luckily not. So it was just one of those things. It's like again, it's like. Some things you can absolutely prepare for, but then some things it's just you got to be able to be creative and roll with it. It's like, so basically like on the spot, I had to come up with brand new shots aside from the shots that I had planned for that sequence. Right. But it ended up working. So it's just, that's the way it's got to be because you're on a low budget and you're just doing it yourself, and if you don't figure it out, man, no one else is going to do it. So
and plus you said it was only for the weekend, so it's not like people were going to stay there later. Everybody has to go home.
It's like if we didn't get what we needed in those 2 days, it's like tough shit.
No. You see, Mil, I'm glad it worked out, man. I mean, of course, this film, it's actually going to be you guys are going to have a showing next week, correct?
Yeah, so it's coming up. It's Thursday night, so April 25th. And super stoked. We got the historic Texas Theater in Oak Cliff, which is downtown Dallas. And then historically, that's where Lee Harvey Oswald got busted after the JFK assassination.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think I have saved that photo also. I mean, this is the one that you guys have on your page. But for those out there, I mean, especially Dallas, Fort Worth area, right? I mean, anybody out there that can make it out, definitely.
Yeah, make it out. It's a free showing. We just want people to come. Check it out, see what we're doing, and then also, build up hype for our feature.
You see, and as far as the seating, how many are allowed in that theater?
So we're in the upstairs screening room, which is a little bit smaller than the downstairs, the main room, and it seats 160.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's a cutoff, right? So no more than 150, brother.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be amazingly stoked if we packed it out. So
that's man. I hope you guys can fill up the seats and get some reactions. I mean, let me ask you. I mean, of course, you're going to be there, right?
Oh yeah.
Now, as far as I know, same thing. I've interviewed past directors, writers, and they're like, man, it's one of those feelings where you're like, okay, let me see if they get it. If the reactions, and they're kind of like, okay, yeah, people are laughing when they're supposed to. People are, you know what I mean? So. As far as for yourself, man, you're a musician. I mean, you're in the front end, the front man. So are you kind of used to those reactions? I mean, whether people are just not, listening to you guys, you're jamming, and you see somebody on their phone looking the other way, and you're like, hey, man, like, does that bother you?
No, not really. Definitely when performing live is, I just get in the zone and block out a lot of shit. And I mean, I've done it before where it's like, even if you see someone doing that, it's like, no, that's the person that you want to go get in their face, and not in a mean, aggressive way,
right.
But then like you go perform for that person so they can't ignore you.
Nice.
right?
Well, like
So,
that.
but as far as like screenings, like when I, did it for my previous short, and we had two big screenings. I wasn't really nervous at the time. I was more relieved when it was over. But it is kind of like for a fighter, is like once you get in the ring, it's like you really gotta focus on your thing. You can't let distractions get to you. And
Right.
so I'm lucky in that regards because I have a lot of practice playing live. Whereas, someone, if this was like their only creative gig, it's like it'd probably be a lot more nerve wracking.
Oh,
So, is I definitely hope people love it, that they have a great time. But I'm also, like of the opinion that even if people hate it, hey man, we did our best, then I hope you like the next one. But
right.
it's not going to back me down. So
No, sure.
it is like I just go in and it's like I'm there, and then it's great if people react to it positively, but no sweat if they don't.
No, no, I agree, man. Because a lot of times, for me, like personally, there's been projects where I'm just so ready to, like you said, I'm relieved because at the end, I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like I said, you know what? Once it's on social media or once it goes on, like, it's out of my hands. Like, I mean, I can't control it. So, luckily nobody's like reported anything.
Right.
Everybody enjoys what they see or hear. But it's just, yeah, it's a form. Definitely. Put your guard down, get to put your feet up, and just go on to the next, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let me ask you, bro. With that being said, I mean, of course, this film, I mean, it's going to be uh streamed next weekend. Of course, it's going to be at the theater. But
Mhm.
are you already in the process of working on something else?
Well, the feature. So
The future.
that's what I'm focused on, is
Okay. Okay.
getting the full length version of it, shot and distributed. That's very much our goal, and that's a whole different can of worms, is distribution. Like there's many horror stories of guys getting completely screwed, on the distribution end, and it's like the Wild West right now because the normal model of like going to theaters or even getting like a DVD release or something like that are out the window.
Yeah.
And so you got to be really creative to find a way to make your name known, because there's so many movies that get released and nobody knows about it. You know what I mean? It's like if your movie ends up on page 30 of Netflix or Amazon Prime with no advertising,
Get lost.
like no one's gonna ever see it. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, that happens a lot, like
Yeah.
a lot. And so, what I'm focused on is not only making the best movie that I can, but making it in such a way that it gets a release and that it doesn't just, poof, disappear.
No, no, you see, and then that's good because even like myself, I mean, I'm on YouTube constantly just watching movies I never knew existed because I
Yeah.
always go down those rabbit holes and I'm like, oh damn, and some of them are great, man. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this one just went right under, But I mean, I agree with you. And earlier, I guess I should have asked it differently, but I mean, of course, you are going to be working on that feature film. But I meant like, are you already in the process of writing? I mean, are you still writing for like other projects later on?
So I'm at the very beginning stages of writing the next feature.
Right.
So basically, like I'm compiling notes and doing research and stuff like that. And then I'm always with music in the process, like writing songs and stuff like that. So one of my projects is going to be going in the studio later this year, and I'm writing lyrics for that. And then uh, polishing, what is going to be the feature script and getting that all in place. So I'm always busy on something, what I
Right.
mean? It just kind of depends on what's directly in front of me at the moment. So.
No, no, for sure. And of course, I mean, being in a band, is your music going to be on the soundtrack on this one? Are you working on that?
No.
Oh,
I keep
okay.
it separate. Uh,
Okay.
is that's just a little too ostentatious for
Yeah.
me to be like, well, here's my movie and you got to listen to my music. like like and no disrespect to people that do that. It's like I like Rob Zombie movies and stuff like that too. But is not like, I to me they're just kind of separate worlds,
Right.
and I don't intrude one into the other, just because I'm in it. You know what I mean? Or
Right.
just because I wrote it or something. It's like now my music's going to be in there. I want something that suits the project. You know what I mean? And something that's going to be you know that the outside viewer isn't going to be like, well, why is that in there? Or you know what I mean? Or that killed the mood or some shit like that.
What's that got to do with that movie? They're like, what's going on?
Yeah. So no, like I just wanted it to the movie and the short, to be as professional and as well executed as possible. And then also my music, we do that as well, but that's just a different realm. I keep the two separate.
Okay, no, well, I mean, I can definitely respect that, man. But I mean, on that note, I mean, the soundtrack for this one, I mean, have you already looked into that? I mean, is there bands or are there?
Yeah, so I've got as far as like the soundtrack itself,
Right.
I've got a guy that he lives in Bogota, Colombia, named Juan Nicholas, and he did the soundtrack score for the short. He's going to do the feature as well. He's a great musician. We started messaging each other on Facebook Messenger. And he hit me up on based on a post that I had put up, and then we started talking, and I checked out like some of his short work and stuff like that, and he's really good, and he's done like several shorts, and he's got his own music projects and stuff like that, and he came up with a killer score. And then there, as far as like individual like songs and stuff like that are on the soundtrack, those are stuff that I've collected. Either like one of them is from a friend's band that I thought that their music fit perfectly.
Right.
They're like kind of like a classic rock style band, and different song pieces and stuff like that I've been able to license, because they're great, but they're not huge. They're not the Beatles or something like that, where it's like, well, I could never afford that. So
Not yet, right?
yeah.
No. Well, of course, man. I mean, I wish you guys the best, man. But as far as the characters, man, I mean, some of the actors, I mean,
Uh-huh.
like you said, they're from San Antonio, from Austin.
Yeah.
What was it about them that you had seen? I mean, because they had to audition, but with their previous work that kind of captured your attention, and you were like, okay, you know what? Like, I saw what they brought to this character. Like, I want the same for mine, or in that perspective.
So some of them I had worked with before on my short,
Okay.
my previous short, Into Dust. Um, and then some of them I got through auditions, and then some of them I got through referral. So it was kind of like a grab bag of different stuff. Of someone highly recommended somebody, so I checked them out, and then it worked out well. And then some of them were auditions, and then some of them I had worked with before.
Okay, cool, man. And it's been said, because especially in indie films, I mean, a lot of directors, writers, they normally have the same crowd um, of workers, actors, just because for the fact that they're reliable, they like how
Yeah.
they work and what they bring. So they kind of you get used to that, right? I mean, you kind of
Yeah.
want that same. So is that pretty much what happened from the first short to this one?
Yeah. Definitely, anytime I come across somebody that, uh, not only does a good job, but has got the right attitude of, just wanting to do, some good work, not, no like crazy egos or anything like that, is it just makes me want to work with them again. So whether that be, on the music side or with the movie side or whatever, is I respond strongly to, people that want to show up and do a good job, because that's how I feel about it. Like, I don't want to waste anybody's time.
Right, exactly.
Like I respect the fact that everybody's got their life outside, and they can't show up and things aren't organized and no one knows what the fuck is going on, And it's like, no, it's my job to know what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But it's your job to know your character and to know your lines and stuff like that. And as long as you do that, hey man, we're great. It's like I'll fucking work with you every time. It's like, and for the people that don't do that, it's like, nah, you're out.
No, yeah, work ethic, right? I mean, they
Yeah.
gotta have one, man.
Yeah, for sure. It's the same with anything. Is you just want to, because movie making is a team sport. It's not individual. It is like you got to work well within a team, and it's really important that you build a good team. Like it's like that's the majority of it. Is because I can't do all the things, right? Like I'm not a costume designer. I can't do special effects, at least not good ones. Like I can't act. I can't do any of that shit. It's like I need people that can do all that shit. And so I want to surround myself with the best people that I can find, and execute it as good as we can. And that to me is the fun. Like it's like I like to party and everything like that and stuff like that once the job is done. But it's like to me the fun is showing up and doing a good job and executing it well. And so I just try to find and surround myself with like-minded people. And then as long as you do that, it's really easy going, man. You don't have to yell at anybody. You don't have to like be uptight or anything like that, because everybody's there on the same page.
Nice, man. I definitely I can respect that for sure, man. I was gonna ask you because the whole bonfire incident, man. I mean, I was gonna say that those that helped you with that were they able to add that as their VFX credit, man?
Well, we didn't have any VFX, but
okay.
like digital effects or anything like that. We're much more lo-fi.
Nice.
But no, like the girl, her name is Lauren Lamb. She was in charge of our art department, and she art director. And she had not had that role before. I mean, she had done stuff in art department. She's worked on big commercials and shows and stuff like that, but she hadn't been the one in charge of the art department.
Right.
And she was for our shoot, and she killed it. She did great.
Sweet, man.
She's amazing to work with. She came prepared, and we figured it out as we went. And that's exactly what you want. So that's why when we make our feature, assuming that the schedules work, is she'll absolutely be the one that's in charge of the art department, because she did such an amazing job.
Nice, man. Well, hopefully, yeah, her schedule's cleared and she's able to help out. I mean, there's nothing, more satisfying for yourself. I'm sure that, having the people that did a great job to show up and stick with you guys to the end.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was going to say too, man, because as far as being prepared with the whole combat sports aspect of it, like back in the day, I was media, so I'd have my camera, my video. I used to have my second cornerman's license, and then you paid like, I think it was like $12 or $15 a year, and what that allowed you to do was basically corner somebody. You can go on the cage, and the state would approve you to go and be the corner guy,
Yeah.
And I got it one day. I had a buddy of mine that he was actually one of my students when I was teaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he moved and he started competing, but he was just on the same note. Like he showed up and he was like, "Hey, I'm short one corner, man." And I was like, "Dude, well, I can get mine, So I went and got it that same day of weigh-ins, and I just kept it. But I've used it twice after that, and it just so happened like fighters fighting outside the state that were like, "Man, they just flew me in. I don't have a corner." And I'm like, "Bro, well, I'm media, but I got a second corner, man." And yeah, oh yeah, Dave, you don't mind, because they need one. You can't fight without, Yeah. And so, but because of that, like I used to take a athletic tape with me. I used to have mouth guards that I would take with me, and just because I already knew somebody was going to be like, "Man, I didn't bring this, or I forgot this," and there I was, man, prepared, brother.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. See, it's like for the cats like you, is like you'll find opportunities. It is if you're ready and you're ready to work, is people will find it, because there's not a lot of those type of people, right? It's like there's a lot of people in fighting, but there's not a lot of people that have their shit together. And there's a lot of musicians out there, guys that can play great guitar and are amazing at drums and stuff like that, but a lot of them aren't really motivated or have their shit together, or they can't practice because they got kicked out of their girlfriend's place, or you know what I mean? They had to sell their gear because, you know, like all this kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah.
They're all like, you know, legit reasons, but the end result is you're not playing music.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with this, you know, it is like if you want to be an actor or a director or a makeup artist or whatever, is you got to be ready to go. And, you know, it's like you got to be ready to go now. And if you are, and you show up on time and you do a good job and you got a positive attitude, people will use you. Absolutely, 100%.
No, I agree, man. I mean, because one of the things, and I will pat myself on the back, but when it comes to the whole podcast, like I've been covering combat sports for years, so I would always be put on the line as far as I'm somewhere, and you know the guy's fighting. It's like an amateur fighter, but I see his corner guy, and it's like a UFC fighter, somebody that had a fight coming up, and I'm just like, man, like it's either now or never, you know. So I used to like, hey, man, I'm so and so, like, you know, I want to bring. Can I ask you a few questions? You know, you have a few fight coming up, and yeah, sure, you know, and last minute, but I've been put on that spot a few times. One of them, I was covering a amateur fight out in the Corpus Christi area, and they had a UFC fighter there, and she was gonna make her pro debut. She had just been picked up, and the promoter was like, "Hey, man, so and so is here, man. You think you can do a quick Q&A, man? Like if I bring her on the stage?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man." And he's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah," you know, like, and I felt comfortable with it, man. I was just like, you know what, I'm proud of that because it's like a lot of people would have probably been like, "Oh man, let me look her up or let me see what's," you know what I mean? But it's just
Yeah.
it makes sense, but you know, because of that, like, yeah, you know, it's all about opportunities. A lot of times being at the right place at the right time does work or does help.
Yeah.
But you know, that's kind of where my whole behind the scenes of my BTS, right? It's like I want to be behind these things because if something happens and you guys need some, or you know, they're like, hey, you know what, can somebody hold this or do this? Like, boom, no problem. You know, I'm there. You know, I'll help out.
Yeah.
But man,
That's great. That's great. You
let me
know,
ask you, when it comes to music, are you a fan of combat sports, man?
yeah. I train. I don't like tournament fight or anything like that, but I just train for myself.
Oh, okay, cool. Now, as far as martial arts background, I mean, is there any, or is this just
Yeah, so like I currently train Japanese jiu-jitsu, so standing jiu-jitsu, and it's got a little bit of a mix of like some Muay Thai in there.
Nice, heck yeah, dude. Well, I mean, it's always better to prepare, especially while you're out there playing. Pit breaks out, right?
Yeah.
But man, of course, I mean, this movie, like I had said earlier, bro. I mean, this is going to be you guys are going to be showing this next week. It's going to be leading up to your main goal, of course, man. But
Yes.
you know, for those out there in the area, of course. I mean, you guys are the address for this location, of course. Would you happen to have that on you? I thought it had it on the flyer. I apologize.
Hold on one second. Yeah, I got the address. Let me pull it up. It is. There we go. So the Texas Theater, the address is 231 West Jefferson Boulevard
There you go.
in Dallas, Texas.
Yes, sir. You see, I remember Jefferson because I used to go to high school. So when I heard that, I was like, okay, Jefferson High School, right? But yeah, man. I mean, Dallas area. I mean, Fort Worth. You've got McKinney. You've got Plano. You've got all those areas around there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, everybody that can show up, like you said, 150 seating. So hopefully you guys get 100 plus. And you know, best of luck, man. I mean, I wish
Oh,
you guys
thanks,
the best
brother.
with this and with the premiere. I mean, you guys bringing that on, of course. Now, what's the important about this coming up? I know you said as far as building up for the actual movie itself, but
Uh-huh.
because it's
Well,
free, how is that going to help out? I mean, let me.
so sure. So we're going to have a number of cast and crew in the audience. I've got a photographer on hand that's going to be shooting pics and video. We're going to have like a little Q&A after the screening, you know, just to field some questions from people and stuff like that. And then we'll use all of that, you know, to show to investors, to show not only what we did, but like the reception and what we were able to put together, and just try to make the project, you know, look attractive to someone that you know wants to invest in it.
Nice, man.
So
Now,
basically, it's a demo reel, right? It's like we're trying to show that we've got our shit together and that we can do this.
No, for sure, man. And of course, when it comes to investors, I mean, what are you guys thinking, man? I mean, is there any certain like markets that you want to push them to?
Uh, like how do you mean? Like
Well, as far
like,
as like companies coming in like to invest, I mean, I know like the fighters, they get sponsors, they get certain products, they get shirts, but I mean, what's it? How different is that from this?
it's somewhat similar in that there's definitely investors. I mean, the thing that I've found after like a year of like doing a deep dive is that there's no one way to do it. There's basically like 10,000 ways. So yes, there's absolutely, you can get investors, you can get tax credits for, depending on where you shoot it. So like for us, like shooting it in the state of Texas, you can get so much money back by spending so much money in Texas.
Okay.
You can get film grants. There's, like public fundraisers that everybody knows about, like GoFundMe and Kickstarter.
Right.
And then there's private investors, which would be either like an individual, right? You might like go, talk to an individual or show them like the demo reel, or there's like investment firms that you would hit up online and like email them, send them like a business, prospectus, and try to negotiate that. So it's basically all of that is how you try to make it happen.
No. Well, I'm sure somebody will bite and actually see what you guys are doing, and be that interested that they want to put some money up behind this, man. But
Well,
no,
thank
bro,
you.
I appreciate you, man. As far as the name of your band, bro, I didn't even ask you about that.
Oh, no worries. So the band name is Silver Tongue Devil, or STD.
Oh snap! I didn't even think about that, but
Yeah.
it was that on purpose? I mean, was that
No, it wasn't on purpose when we created it, but then a fan, like pointed it out, and we're like, "Oh shit!" And this was years ago,
yeah.
but then we stuck with it. So now, like, we'll label stuff like STD.
Cool.
But Silver Tongue Devil is the band name.
Oh, okay. And I was gonna say just like an STD is with you forever, right? But not
Yeah,
not not in
right.
not in that sense, man. But for sure, man. I mean, I'll definitely look that up, man. I appreciate you jumping on here. Anything you want to say before you wrap this up, bro?
No, man, I greatly appreciate, you helping out, giving me a little bit of a platform for the project. That's huge. Thank you so much. Really love, that you do that for up and comers like myself. And so we definitely hope to see as many people as we can. Again, the screening is this coming Thursday night, which is April 25th at 8 p.m. and it's free. So everybody come out. We're not rated because we're not a feature, but it's the equivalent of like an R rating, So I don't care if you, bring the kids or whatever, but that's up to you. But otherwise, would love to see as many people as we can. And then, we're definitely going to get the feature made. Hopefully it's at the budget that we're shooting for so that we can pull off all the cool stuff that we're wanting to do. And we've got a website that you can stop by, and it's just the name of the movie. So it's bewarethedevilswrath.com.
Okay, sweet, man.
You can stop there, and it's got all kinds of like behind the scenes pictures and details and updates and all that kind of stuff. So go check that out as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna put that on the YouTube channel once I've loaded it up, man. But I appreciate you, of course, Craig Meinhart, man. Thank you for your time. Don't hang up yet. Everybody out there, of course, once again, this is sPidA Coming Soon podcast. So next time, follow up.